We had some beautiful weather today to go out on a kayak. Weather called for less than 10-mile winds and a high of 90 degrees. So we left the house at 5:30 in the morning. I left from Woodstock, and I picked up Tom in Catonsville, and then we headed out to try to catch some flounder in Delaware, as there has been some decent report of flounder being caught. And just like I mentioned in my last video, there's three components of flounder fishing, three key components which will provide you a lot more success. Number one is drifting with the bait pods and water. So you always want to go in and out with the tide. This is crucial as flounder are assassin style predators, so they attack from the ground up and they move with these bait pods. So as the bait pods are moving, they're constantly chasing them down and they will hit the bait pods. So if you ever watched flounder attack, maybe I can do like a small tutorial or something of that sort later down the line. Flounder will consistently chase. So if you had a jig on the bottom of, or a bucktail per se, on the bottom of the floor, they will continue to chase the bucktail even though they fail to hit on the first attempt. So they'll keep chasing it and tapping it uh, until they either get hooked up or they lose interest because it may seem unnatural. So that's where they get spooked out the most, when the bait starts to seem unnatural. Number two is staying in the strike zone. Strike zone for flounder is about 2-3 feet off the floor. This is what I find to be the most successful. You don't want to be dragging your minnow or jig off the floor. Don't get me wrong, you will catch fish, but if you're 2-3 feet off the floor, you actually have a higher um, field of view for the fish. So you, fish that are maybe 5 feet away will see a minnow or a bucktail 2-3 feet off the floor more than you just dragging it right off the floor. So definitely major, you want to keep the presentation as natural as possible by keeping it in the strike zone and drifting. So that's two things that will make it uh, look like a natural presentation. And the last thing being covering ground. So this kind of goes with point number one. While you are drifting, you will want to, maybe you hit some additional flounders in some areas. So you might want to go back and drift that section again to see if there is a higher concentration of flounder. If not, you should just keep drifting right past it. And there were plenty of times when Tom and I, we drifted out using minnows over multiple sections of one area. And we would go on the left side or the right side, down the middle twice. Depth was not really a big factor today. Now, this area, they do dredge the area. So I think I came with my girlfriend 2 weeks ago, and there's some videos on my channel in which she caught three keepers just by herself. The depth here was, I believe, 30 feet at the time, and when Tom and I came, it actually dropped to about 16 to 20 feet. So there's a lot of dirt and sand moving in this canal, so that I believe they dredge it once a month or something of that sort. And while you drift, you want to make sure you're covering ground, and I do not recommend any type of anchoring, as this kind of contradicts rule number two in making the presentation as natural as possible. Uh, Bait will not go against the current. That is like a big no-no. Bait always move with the current because that's the least amount of effort for them to for them to go in a certain direction. So, well, there is one exception, and that would be wreck fishing. So if you are wreck fishing and there you see a high concentration of a particular fish, then it is a good idea to maybe anchor up and just sit there. So we drifted at the mouth of the canal around 9 a.m. That's when we got there and had everything geared up. We set out for high tide, which was at 11, and the moment we started getting on the fish at the mouth of the canal, we started to drift further and further in. As you drift, there will be flounder either passing by, uh, under you, or they may stop and hang out for a little bit. And there are plenty of times where we would retrace certain spots to see if there were any additional flounders present in the area. And there were maybe a couple times, but there was a specific area where there was a, I would call a honey hole, electric line underground. I don't I don't believe electric current may um like it may affect the fish to stay in that area, but there was definitely some kind of structure and or bait. There was a lot of crabs in that area as well, so it may be why there was flounder kind of hanging out there as well. And we traced back about 4 or 5 times, and I missed a flounder twice in the same area, a very large flounder. And there will be a clip down the line where I will show you. Um, so big key learning point for me was don't even try to use it was a semi-rusted hook. It was used I think for 2 trips, and this trip the hook broke, snapped right in half. It's a very decent sized flounder, and it's a big fail on me, but a nice flounder. So if you have any questions, comments about this video, please feel free to throw a comment below. If you liked my videos, please feel free to shoot me a subscribe, and I'll try to answer all my questions as best as possible. Thanks for watching.